All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Well, today, as you saw in the title, it's time to hide your guns. Now, that could be a little controversial. People are like, "Well, Chuck, you can't tell me to break the law. That would be horrible." No, I didn't say anybody's going to break any laws, but we're going to dig into it. One, I'm going to tell you maybe what you should be doing with your guns, and I'm definitely going to lay out the case of why you need to hide your guns, and we're going to really dig into it. First, as always, make sure you like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Helps the channel, helps everything, makes everything we do worthwhile. But anyway, so Kevin, now a lot of people are starting to think that Kamala's maybe going to win the election. Now, Kamala Harris, I don't want to be derogatory because she's a woman.
That's right. That's right. You got to be careful what you say. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the polls right now, she's like 7-8 points ahead of Trump. Like there's a sizable lead, and if you're watching Fox News, they might not be telling you that, but do a little bit of research and look at some of the actual polls. It's not looking good for Trump.
I didn't even know that Fox News still existed. Now,
wait a minute.
So I don't even know about cable channels. Like, I don't even know what's going on. If it's not on Netflix or Hulu or something.
Yeah, it's not called Fox News anymore. Oh. It's Fox Entertainment.
Ooh, that's sexy.
That way that they don't have to actually abide by facts and things like that, you know?
Because if it's entertainment, that tracks.
That's just entertaining. Yeah. So whatever. I don't know how the hell that makes any difference, but you know, just be aware that Fox legally is not called news anymore for a reason. So I don't know.
All right. So I do have some clips that are a little concerning. Basically, the big thing that's got everybody riled up is Kamala says that if Congress fails to act because they just don't even care anymore, then within the first 100 days, she's going to use executive action to take your AR-15s. Now, I know a lot of you are shouting at the screen right now saying, hey, the Supreme Court looked at this and they said that the AR-15 is the most common use rifle in America, or common use firearm in America, and therefore is protected by the Second Amendment. But apparently not if you're Kamala Harris. That's her take on it. And even Biden said, hey, you can't do this with executive order. And that's why Biden hasn't done it.
Yeah.
And then, she's like, well, no, I want to do what I want. Because that's, what is it they say? It's woman's prerogative. Is that
what? Woman's prerogative to change her mind, which she might change her mind when she realizes that
she can't do it.
Order to shut it down. Yeah.
Yeah, but do we even care about the Supreme Court? They're all old men. Well, there actually is a lot of women on the Supreme Court now, isn't there?
Yeah.
At least
three. I don't know. They keep changing it. Every 10 years or something, there's a different one. I can't keep.
How can I remember for 10 years? God, nah, that's just silly. Anyway, so let's kind of dig into it. Here's the first news thing, and I think this is from your Fox Entertainment. But here you go.
Announced, quote, the launch of the first ever National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center to support the effective implementation of state red flag laws. A second announcement will be, quote, an official call to action for states across the nation to use the historic federal funding President Biden and Vice President Harris fought to enact. Those red flag laws allow firearms to be taken away from a person if they're deemed by a court to pose a threat to themselves or others. President Joe Biden has made clear he will make tackling gun violence a main issue in his campaign and has tapped the vice president to oversee the effort. But the vice president, President Joe Biden, say it's just common sense, and that's what we heard her saying today.
There are only about 21 states that have passed red flag laws. So part of why I'm here today is to challenge every state to pass a red flag law. Of the states that have passed red flag laws.
All right. So you get the idea. It goes on. I try not to give them too much credit on my show. It looked like it wasn't Fox News. That was from like NBC. But anyway, so the deal is on that one, they have the National Resource Center for Red Flag Laws.
All
Now,
right.
here's what's cool with that they did with this. They somehow came up with 750 million of your tax dollars to just give out to any state, no, not total, like spread out, right?
Hmm.
To give out to any state to help implement that. And that means you need to bribe somebody, you need to do whatever. We got a slush fund for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I
funny.
actually live in the most corrupt state in the country, so I'm sure that's gonna work. That'll work well here.
Now,
Everybody
yeah,
likes to get into politics in New York to get rich.
now she goes into mentions that 21 states have red flag laws. And she's like, and I don't understand. Only 6 of those states have taken money. And she's like, so there's a lot to go around. So I don't know
Ooh.
what the hell's going on there. But Kevin, I'm sure New York, you guys are on it, and you got your share of the ching there.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
But
We're doing good here.
so now, mind you, as much as I go after Kamala here, I have to point out Donald Trump is down for red flag laws. At least he was the first time. He was before he wasn't. As
Right.
far as I know, he is down for red flag laws.
Hmm.
He said, let's just take the guns and then we can sort it out and give them back later. Because obviously he has no idea what's going on there. Because
Because he's
you
never owned
really
a
don't
gun,
get
and
those guns back.
yeah,
That
he doesn't
never
have
happened.
any interest in guns. I'm gonna get myself in trouble on this episode. We're not gonna. I'm gonna stay away from the Trump bashing. We
All
can just
right. See,
stick
Kevin,
to one side.
we're gonna keep an audience. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, but I think it's the beautiful balance that we have between Kevin. But the thing is, neither one of us loves either candidate.
Either
And
candidate. Yeah.
so, yeah, no,
Hmm.
we're definitely a little more like, ooh, government. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's bad. Government bad. So here's the deal. Here's what my problem is with red flag laws. You have no due process. And the deal is you end up paying, and anybody can say you're crazy.
Hmm.
Anybody can be like, hey, you know, Chuck's got that beard. He's got that podcast. I saw him talking about hiding guns. I think I saw him wearing a tinfoil hat at his picnic in the backyard the other
Yeah.
day.
Like 10 red flags right there, man.
There are like 10 red flags, right? His shirt is OD green.
Hmm.
You're seeing a problem, right? And yeah, I mean, you just beard wearing jeans. I think he wears boots.
Ugh,
Yeah, dog. That's not. I saw mud on his shoes. No,
gross.
that's not part of America. That's not the America I want to live in.
Hmm.
Right. But that's the thing. You can just, accuse your neighbors of shit and then their rights are taken away.
Yeah,
And
I had a
there's,
friend of mine that
yeah,
had his gun taken away from a red flag law. This was in Illinois, not New York, which
okay.
Illinois is just as bad as New York State
Yeah.
is. But his ex-wife said that he had murdered somebody,
Who
and
hasn't seen
that's
that
it.
play?
That's it. So she was actually talking about a sick dog that he shot, and but that doesn't matter. When it all got sorted out, he still didn't have his guns, and that was like 3 years afterwards. So you know,
Katrina, they were like, oh, you, we're taking all your guns. And then everybody's like, all right, where are my guns? Give them back. And they were like, well, do you have the receipts for every gun that you bought? And they're like, there was a hurricane and I don't even have my birth certificate or
yeah,
anything. Like it's gone.
yeah, you're
And they
fucked.
were like,
We stole your shit, and we're not giving it back.
you don't have any proof. You
Yeah.
don't deserve that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the it's crazy, and they just come after your stuff, and you have no say. And that's the thing. You can go to court, you can get a lawyer, you can raise money and get your stuff back, but that presumption of innocence no longer exists.
Hmm.
And that's the problem with red flag laws.
Right.
Now, then it just keeps spiraling, right? So red flag laws are horrible, and I have to make that clear. Now, I did say that I was going to touch on the whole uh, is it legal? Why would you tell us to break the law and hide your guns? The deal is, Kevin and I are both veterans. Now, I don't want to put words in Kevin's mouth and say how he speaks, but there's that organization, Oath Keepers, and they talk about people who, swore an oath to protect the Constitution and defend it. And as military members, now obviously neither of us are in the military now, right? The beard gives it away, or maybe the beer belly. Although I have
Mhm.
squishy guys in the military now.
That's right.
But we used to have a thing called the Universal Code of Military Justice.
Right.
Remember that Article 9?
Mhm.
And so, anyway, the big thing was they talked about you only have to follow lawful orders. And again, this applies to military people, and it is not a general rule for everybody. And I'm just saying, I'm using this as an example to explain where my mindset is at, right?
Mhm.
I explain it in my head. And so they used to say to be lawful, they still say it, to be a lawful order, it must have a valid military purpose, be clear, specific, and narrowly drawn. In addition, the order must not conflict with the statutory or constitutional rights of the person receiving the order. And that's where I have the problem is the constitutional rights. And you have a right to firearms. There it is very clear. Let me remind you. I know everybody's heard it 1,000 times, but a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. All right.
Mhm.
Got a couple of things there that everybody panics about. They panic about the word militia. Oh my God. Well, they're talking about the National Guard or whatever. I don't know what they're talking about. No, they weren't. Everybody was part of the militia. It was the able-bodied American. Um, necessary for a free state. Well, remember, we had just fought a war with what we felt was an oppressive government, right?
Right.
And that was the whole thing was we needed to keep guns in order to defend ourselves from an oppressive government. And then the last part, infringed. Apparently nobody knows what this word means anymore, but it used to mean to limit.
Mhm.
So, oh, you can only have 7 bullets in your gun or 10 bullets in your gun. That's limit. You'd like in New York, the court said they tried to limit everybody to 7 rounds in New York
Mhm.
in a firearm. And then the Supreme Court looked at it and said, "Nope, we checked it out. It's unconstitutional to limit you to 7 rounds, but they can limit you to 10. That's okay."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not sure what mental hoops you jump through to get.
Yeah. You have to remember though, before they did that in New York State, they fucked that law up so bad that it limited police officers also to 7 rounds. And they had to rewrite the law real quick and get everything changed over. Otherwise, it was limiting police officers from types of firearms they can and can't use. So it was the whole thing was a train wreck, and they just jammed it through so fast they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it,
Hmm.
how it would break down. It's crazy. But
So so
what?
so the initial ways that they started limiting um, firearms, possession of firearms, is increasing taxes on
Yeah.
ammunition and taxes on firearms, and that
That
was
would be
in the
the
1940s.
NFA thinking of, the
Hmm.
National Firearms Act. And that's where you started having to pay your $200 tax stamp. I
Hmm.
think the hero of the right, Ronald Reagan, is the one who got us that.
Yeah, he was real big on. He was not. He was real big on gun control in when he lived in California. He was the governor of California, right? And there were some serious issues with um, the Black Panthers carrying shotguns around, and yeah, not a big fan of black dudes walking up to traffic stops on the side of the street holding a shotgun and just watching what's happening. He said there's no reason for a person in a city in the United States to be carrying a firearm. And then he became president. It was a whole different story, but he still still
Yeah.
had those same little feelings deep in his heart, you know?
That's the thing. A lot of that stuff is like the deep in your heart kind of thing, and you're like,
Mhm.
you know what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, yeah, no, it just gets ugly, and there's so much going on that you need to be able to protect yourself. You need to be able. The thing is, we keep giving up rights, and that's the whole thing. Like right now, this whole hate speech thing, everything is hate speech. People are offended. And there's a big gray area of, well, it's just companies limiting your speech, right? It's just Twitter. I mean, I know Twitter now at X, we're safe, but it was just
Yeah.
them.
Right.
It was just Facebook. Oh, it's just YouTube saying, oh, we don't want, YouTube put stuff up. They'll take down my content and say, well, in some countries, that's offensive. And somehow, with our monitoring technology, we were able to catch what you said, but we're not able to limit it to only American audiences. They don't have that technology yet. They haven't developed it, I guess,
Mhm.
is what. So they're like, so you might be promoting something illegal in another country, but not illegal here. It's better you just don't have it.
Right. Right.
Well, that's like a form of censorship. But right now in England, I don't know if you guys are even aware of all the riots and craziness going on over there, but if you even like tweet out stuff and say stuff while the riots are going on, you can be arrested.
Right.
Um in Canada, they have where they can go back through your Twitter feed and your Facebook for since you opened that account. They probably go back to your MySpace account and they're going after you for things you said because you were a bigot and a racist and
Mhm.
whatever, anything that violates the standards of today.
Yeah.
That's what I always wonder about. How is it that we judge people by the world we live in at this moment, but we're going to judge you on your actions 20 years ago? Because
Right.
we know that's where your heart was.
Uh-huh.
Just like when Biden was buddies with the KKK guys, like we're going to judge him on that. Or is that wrong?
Well, I mean,
Was I mistaken?
I 100% agree with you. I am very glad that there was no serious internet when I was younger, cuz you're 17, 18, 19, you say all sorts of dumb shit and you think it's funny,
Yeah,
and it is funny. But
it is a little funny.
now you're not allowed to say those things that I was saying then. Luckily there's no record of it. God forbid, like, your kids, my kids, oh, they're going to be fucked in 50
It's a
years when they
dangerous
start.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, every job. Well, that was I can't even tell the story because all the words would get me banned on YouTube. But there was a baseball player who in 7th grade called his buddy something dumb on
Uh-huh.
like MySpace or something,
Right.
and they went after him for that. And they were
Yeah.
like, "Look,
10
you're a
years later.
homophobe," and it's like, "Really, dude?
Yeah.
Really?" No. But all right. So I do have another clip from Kamala that is a little concerning. They're all a little concerning, to be honest. But let's jump into this one.
Even the freedom to live safe from gun violence will finally pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
You get the idea. And then there's another. She just keeps going.
College students had to have a drill during high school or middle school or elementary school or even in college where you learned about how you need to hide in a closet or crouch in a corner in the event that there is a mass shooter roaming the hallways of your school. Look at that. Look at that. And here's the thing. It terrorized you. It is traumatizing. I don't want that any of our children should have to sit in class when you should be paying attention to what's happening in the front of the classroom, letting your mind open up to the wonders of science, math, or art, or whatever.
They're playing on fear, right? And that's the whole.
Let's pick this apart for a second. She was saying that
Just try not to give her
you
too
had
much
these
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
you had these drills that we made you learn how to hide from a gunman that's just going to show up and start shooting
Random.
everybody.
Yep.
And that terrified you. That traumatized you. Maybe stop traumatizing fucking kids. How about that? We can start with that. That's not, a gun didn't do that. That was your teacher scaring the shit out of you.
Mind you, she's talking to a college where they had a shooting at the college.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's like, yeah, we did. Well, no,
Mm-hmm.
because
No
yeah,
shit.
you're get out of here.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. All right, bad things are gonna happen. But how many of you would be traumatized if they rounded everybody up, put them in train cars, took them to a camp, and then just gassed everybody and then bulldozed them into a big pit?
Yeah.
Would that traumatize
That's
you?
kind of traumatizing.
And it turns out the numbers don't really add up in her favor on a lot more people have been hurt by genocide than, and you're saying, well, in the modern world, we would never do such things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
No, because we're civilized now.
Yeah, there's no
Now we're
genocide
just
going
gonna
on anywhere.
brainwash. I do think that they are coming, and there's there's a bunch of there's another clip that if I'd let that one play out, I guess the second one, that she's like, basically, if Congress doesn't act within the first 100 days, then I'll use executive action to
Right.
come after the AR-15s, not all the guns. She doesn't say I'm taking every gun. Now it starts somewhere and then it goes, because the thing is, right, you get rid of all the AR-15s,
Mm-hmm.
there's still going to be shootings, because
Yeah.
it turns out more shootings are from handguns, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be like, oh, look, we still have all this gun violence. um Actually, believe it or not, if you take away the suicide by handgun,
Mm-hmm.
um, America actually has less gun violence than almost every other country. I mean, all civilized, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
people are whatever. But what are you going to do? It's crap, right? You're more likely to be stabbed, according to the FBI, than you
Mm-hmm.
are to be shot. Now, I have heard the argument, well, yeah, but you don't always die from a stab wound. Well, you don't always die from a gunshot
Yeah,
either.
and I think you're actually more likely to die from a stab wound than a
I,
gun.
I know I
You're
don't.
more likely to get shot 5 times than stabbed 5 times, but I don't know. I don't know what the statistics are, but I know that knife attacks are more lethal than gun attacks.
Now, I did kind of we did get a comment about hide is maybe the question, and I would say hide until it's appropriate to use. How about that?
Yeah, right? Because that's
That's
the
the
that's the line. When it's time to hide the guns, it's time to use the guns.
that does sound right.
But I guarantee this: whoever wins this next presidential election, there are going to be massive amounts of people buying guns, one side or the other. And I know everybody on the left was all fucking crazy. Guns are dangerous. They're no good to have in your house. You're more likely to kill yourself. All this
You shoot
bullshit.
your
And
eye.
then Donald Trump got elected, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!
Oh boy,
Get to the gun store!"
get to the guns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that actually turned the tables. A lot of other people were like, "Oh, we need to get our guns," after
Mm-hmm.
they're afraid of the big redneck hick uprising.
Right,
and,
right.
and so that was definitely going to come. Um, man, we man, it just I am so thrown by this whole censorship thing. It really does have me like stumbling all through. And everyone's like, "Well, you have to be big on YouTube," and I'm like, I can't keep them happy.
Right, right.
You have to grow your YouTube channel, and I'm like, everything I say, they're like, "Nope, no, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think so." Um,
I mean,
so
we've
that's
gotten multiple shows banned from YouTube over the
it's
past year or
endless.
so.
They're just like, "Nope, what were you thinking?" And they're like, "You were out of your damn mind on
I
that one."
mean, just the fact that the word "guns" is in the title of this episode is probably enough to get
You
this one
said
kicked off.
China is usually ready to shut it down if
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Eh,
Let's. So what might be some reasons that you might hide a gun?
okay. So
Let's say what if you were worried about your firearms getting stolen or damaged?
yes, that's a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
why
I've got a whole list of other reasons, but I don't think I'm allowed to say any of those ones.
oh.
So if you're
what if
worried somebody's going to steal
what
your
if
guns,
somebody was gonna come and unlawfully take your guns?
right?
People we would call criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thieves.
So
Yeah,
if criminals were gonna come take my guns, it would be better if I didn't have them out in
readily
open public,
available.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
a
people
lot of
always say
people.
like, "Oh, it's in the safe." And if you had a Liberty safe, that might not end well. Because Liberty, they'll be like, "Hey, Liberty safe, what's the combination? Oh, we got you. Just do this."
Yeah, yeah.
No, no.
It used to be not that long ago that a lot of people would have gun cabinets in their living room with
With
glass where you
glass
could
on the
just
front.
walk in and you could see every single one of them. You
Well,
know,
you want a display. You're a proud
right?
gun owner in
And some of
America.
them would have a little lock, little key on there that you could latch it
Or you
shut,
don't.
but
Yeah,
or
you
you
do.
don't.
Like the jewelry box keys that the high school girls have. It
Uh
would be
huh.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you just have it on the gun rack in the pick 'em up truck,
Mm-hmm. Right on the back.
right on the back.
You never know.
In
Used
the
to have
in
a
the high
lot of friends
school parking lot. Yeah.
that would do that. And they'd carry one of those big spotlights, and they'd just get shit faced and drive around and spot deer on the side of the road, take them out.
Are you thinking of that movie Crocodile Dundee?
Oh, all right. So, what gun are you gonna hide?
Oh,
Um.
all
Well,
of them?
let's start with a gun. What are you're gonna pick one? Let's find something that's cheap, that's reliable. Semi-automatic rifle, probably.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, in a common caliber, right?
Possibly the most common rifle in America where you had interchangeable parts. That would be a good one.
Yeah, yeah. One that some people have talked about banning. I don't know. I mean, there's a. I'm talking about 15 different rifles, but there's one specifically that would be a really great fit for this.
Okay. Oh,
Um, also would be great to put some ammunition with this firearm. Uh, and maybe any tools you might need to assemble or disassemble it. There's a lot of back and forth I've heard from different sources saying it's better to have it taken apart, and other people saying it's better to just keep it all together. Depends on how you're hiding it too, though. You know what I mean? How
what
much space you have.
what I would say that's definitely a must is oil, oil, oil.
Yes.
Oil everywhere. A big thing when you're storing your guns, you want to basically use twice as much as a gun cleaning amount of oil.
Hmm.
And you want to put it on the barrel and all around the outside there. And not on like the stock and stuff. We're talking about
Right.
metal parts, right? It,
Yeah.
it turns out, because you will get a little rust if you don't.
Hmm.
And you want to leave a little extra oil. And then the idea is when you remove it, it would still function in its current condition, but you would typically clean it and then re-oil it with a normal amount of oil before
Hmm.
you use it.
Right.
That's what people would do hypothetically. Now,
Hypothetically.
the next thing when storing your guns for a long time is you do want it to be in a watertight situation.
Hmm.
So you are airtight, so it therefore watertight,
Watertight.
right? It's gonna, keep the moisture out because humidity, and that's why airtight matters, right? Because
Hmm.
humidity gets in there and then temperature changes, it condensates. I would point out that underground seems to keep a pretty
It's like a
even
pretty
temperature.
steady temperature, right?
Don't have big even or big humidity changes.
Hmm.
I would also point out that it might be a good idea to store ammunition with your firearm because why would you have a firearm if you didn't have ammunition? I mean
Right.
that
Hmm.
just a thought,
Makes sense.
right? I've heard that in a firefight somebody could use up to 15 magazines. Just
Ooh,
saying. I've heard that. I
yeah.
don't I've never
Especially
been
when
in
there's
a
only
firefight.
10 rounds in a magazine.
I've never been in a firefight, so I couldn't tell you, but
Hmm.
I heard in a movie that that was maybe a good way to go.
Right.
Now there are a lot of things out there that they sell on there's a website,
Hmm.
Amazon.com, you guys
I've
maybe
heard
heard of.
about it.
Um, they have like waterproof rifle cases, 12-inch by 46-inch cylinders with a sealable cap. I would possibly recommend one, you want to pack it up when it's not humid out.
Right.
you would possibly want to wrap things individually. I actually, when I stored guns for a long time, I oiled it, like I said, and I actually just wrapped it in saran wrap to kind of keep the oil and stuff in there without, any issue. And I just wrapped it all the way around the firearm. And then if I was putting it in one of these tubes, if it was PVC, I would use PVC glue and seal it up. If
Right.
it wasn't PVC, I would possibly use some kind of silicone adhesive and
Hmm.
seal it up with that. That might be something you'd do. Like I saw
Yeah.
it in a movie.
Yeah. PVC is super cheap. You know, you're gonna have a hard time finding 12-inch PVC. It might mean you have to disassemble some stuff to get everything to
Yep,
fit in
yep.
there, right? But you want to
But
get the
it can
biggest
be done.
diameter available.
Yeah,
Maybe use cash when you buy it.
cash. That's good. I like cash.
Mhm.
You go to Lowe's and buy some plumbing supplies, Kevin. You're never going to go wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Now, PVC is great because it's doesn't corrode. Uh, Holds up to water pretty well. It can be sealed easily. You can even get a screw cap for your PVC, and as long as you have a good rubber gasket or some silicone on those threads, you'd be all right. Um, the difference is, are you going to want to be able to easily open it up, or do you want to have a saw and cut it open? That would really depend on how you're sealing that PVC pipe up.
You would think about access as an issue.
Right.
Um, and again, now I would say these things don't just apply to firearms. I would say you might want to hide some long-term food storage. They say it's always good to not put all your eggs in one basket.
Hmm.
And it's possible you might want things in multiple locations. I know earlier we touched on Kevin had started to talk about what guns you might want to hide. I would say what is it they say? One is none and two is one or something.
Right.
Or something like that.
Hmm.
Redundancy is what I would say. I
That's
would
right.
say possibly have a backup for your backup. Might be a way to go.
Hmm.
Um, I do know that when they come looking for your AR-15, um, I would definitely be interested in just handing them a lower receiver, seeing as that is a gun,
Hmm.
instead of some other expensive, costly parts where I could then maybe go recycle the metal at the scrapyard or something. You
Right.
know, that um, I mean, that might be you don't want to give away all that scrap metal that, the barrels and
All that stuff. Yeah.
triggers and all that stuff. You don't want to just, yeah, here, just take all of it. No, because remember, a gun is only the part with the serial number and nothing else.
Hmm.
So it is possible that that would be the part to turn in. I'm just saying.
Right.
I mean, the ATF came up with this rule, not me.
Hmm.
Again,
Yeah. Not making
not
the
a
rules.
lawyer, but that's how I understand the world to work.
Hmm. Now, say you wanna have access to this gun a little bit more than just running out and digging it up some hole that's not on your property. Um, where else could you hide a firearm? Well, one idea is underground. Another is above eye level.
Oh,
Um, if you think about you know uh, trees and barns and attics and places like that where you can conceal something easily. Another idea is in plain sight. I saw one person that had uh, they had some PVC waste pipes that run through the ceiling of their basement, the floor of the first
mhm.
level, and it discharges out into their septic tank. There's a lot of pipes running through their house, kitchen, bathroom, all sorts of stuff. There was one pipe that didn't seem like it went from anywhere to
To
anywhere.
anywhere. But
That
you
was
could kind
that
of
was weird.
extend stuff to maybe have a clean out.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
right.
know.
Clean outs are great. Yeah.
Clean outs.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Um, you want to find someplace that's probably not going to be disturbed for a long time, right? Extended period of time. You don't want to put it on a piece of property where they're going to be building a Walmart next year. Um,
Mhm. You've seen those fancy shelves on the internet, that have the drop down with the little,
mhm.
holder case. Those seem a little obvious to me.
Yeah.
I don't. I feel like they're good if you want to keep your AR-15 in the living room and you don't want your 3-year-old knowing how to get to it or where it is.
Right. Right.
Um,
But
as far as
anybody could
hiding
walk
it
into your house that's
from the
looking for one
ATF,
and find
I'm
it.
not
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that would work. But that's, hey, you keep your options open. Kevin had mentioned to me in the past that he likes to build secret doorways,
Hmm.
bookshelves that open into other rooms.
I
Now,
mean, for other people, not
right. Well,
not
yeah.
at my house.
And Kevin's a big reader, so
Yeah.
you
I've,
want to have a secret book collection.
that's right. That's
That
right.
rare book, that copy of the Bible that, hey, that you don't know what's going to be legal in the future.
That's right. Well, I mean, there has been actually a lot of book bannings lately, which apparently like 5 people are super into banning certain books, and they're just like forcing everybody else to put up with it. Now that banning means that it's not in schools or your public library. It doesn't mean you can't buy it, but it's a matter of time. You ban the books. You don't have to burn them. You just ban them. Just make them illegal to sell and
But
borrow.
I think, like Kevin said, the plumbing is definitely a great option. But when he said kind of hiding it in plain sight and just over eye level, um, I live in, as you can see, kind of a wood house here. I'm gonna flip around the camera here. I have these beams that are like that, and you see that giant beam. It turns out you could possibly just set a gun up there and you'd be
Hmm.
all right. You could
Right
just
up on top.
have one up there. It wouldn't be obvious to people. And
Hmm.
yes, you've seen like 20 agents come in, and it depends what resources are available.
Right.
Um, like one of the things. Oh well, what good's an AR-15 gonna do you? Because Biden says he has F-16s or whatever the hell it is. I don't know,
Yeah.
F-22 Raptors.
And
I don't.
apparently they're just start gonna bombing people's houses.
But it turns out resources aren't always as available as you think. But if
Hmm.
they're coming around door to door and taking everybody's guns, I'm just saying it's possible that they might not have the resources to do the thorough 20 FBI agents in your house search for every single person. I'm
Hmm.
just saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Possibly in the insulation under your house between the floor and whatever. Are they going to pull all the insulation down? I mean, they probably are in my house now that I made this video.
Right. Right.
But I mean, at your house, and I know they're going to put it back, right? If they
Yeah. They
take
they
it.
go clean up after themselves. I hear.
And when they knife through all my couch cushions,
Hmm.
you're like, the wife
Yeah.
will really appreciate that I did this episode
Interesting. Yeah.
for you.
Interesting. Um, thing I saw in a video at one point was drywall is really easy to put up. If you have a little bit of experience, you can cut a hole right in drywall and then put the drywall right back up, paint over it. It's almost invisible. You know. And it's easy enough to punch through drywall if you have an emergency, but
But
it's a bit of a
if you're
project.
gonna do a hack job where you see like a big rectangle with
Yeah,
some
don't do that one.
spackle around the edge, don't
If
don't bother,
if you're
right?
not good at it, don't do it.
But if
Um,
you're putting up a wall and you're doing a complete wall,
mhm,
I'm just saying, might not be a bad idea.
yeah. Uh, so there are gun sniffing dogs.
Nice. Kevin,
So that's something to also be conscientious of. However, they're sniffing for the smell of gunpowder. So
it's everywhere
it's
in
a
my house, Kevin. We're safe.
it's a yeah, that's true. It's a good idea to thoroughly clean your firearms all the time, not just when you're putting it someplace out of the way.
And it wouldn't be bad if you had, say, 122 acres to kind of spread it out a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah,
I don't know.
especially if it's on somebody else's property. You know, I don't.
If your neighbor has 122 acres, even better if you had state land behind you. Saying
Hmm.
hypothetically, like in a
Yeah,
movie. Just remember there are trail cams everywhere.
there are trail cams everywhere. That is true.
It's funny. There was a break in up the road, and and the police put out a thing, and there or whatever of we're looking for anybody who might have camera footage of these criminals, and I was like, well, actually, me and the 4 houses I've talked to around me, every one of us has cameras, but regular cameras. But I was like, people don't have cameras everywhere. They're not paranoid like me. And then I was like, oh wait, there are trail cams everywhere in my
That's right.
neighborhood,
Yeah.
like everywhere. And so, yeah,
They're so cheap now, you know?
they're out there. Yeah. And they go right to your phone.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, it's not bad. I just bump up I think mine does like 75 pictures a month or 100 or 150. I don't really know.
Mhm.
And then I have to up that for, hunting season. And then it's like unlimited. And I'm getting cameras or pictures like every 2 minutes or chiming on my phone. Like, look at this chicken fly by. Dude, the craziest. So I had a fox that's been terrorizing things. And I actually had set up a live trap to see if there was something I could do about it. And I went out the other day and I'm like, there's a chicken in the live trap. I'm like, that's not good. And I go and it ended up being some kind of terrible, horrible bird. And I just
Oh, it
let it
wasn't a
go,
chicken?
but it wasn't a chicken. And it was terrifying. I'm just saying.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I just didn't want to mention things because also I can't say anything on the internet because
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I
it
know
did
I've
fly away. I lifted it up.
It
We'll
was
say
fine,
that
huh?
it was a bird that spits acid on people
Oh, that one.
that smells bad,
Mhm.
and it's a bird that plays dead like a
That one.
possum.
Mhm.
Just saying, there are things out there
Yeah.
that maybe look like horrible, grotesque turtle heads on them. That with big hooks and claws and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've got an issue with I don't have any issues with foxes and other predators. There's a fisher cat that's been around that likes to fuck things up. But I have a pretty sturdy coop, and the only thing that I really have problems with are hawks. And there's nothing you can really do. I mean, you can put up hawk
can't.
netting and stuff like that, but you can't shoot
Whoa.
at or
So
injure any of those.
somebody told me, "Oh, you can't kill predator birds," which that not an issue. That's fine. I wasn't out shooting hawks or anything. But you also can't kill migratory birds without permits or whatever special things
Hmm.
and whatever. So just something to keep in mind. I'm just saying, hypothetically. Like I said,
Yeah, I
it,
mean,
it,
realistically, I can kill whatever I want to kill.
Kevin,
I can
Kevin,
do whatever I want.
no,
I'm a
no.
grown ass man, and what are they gonna do? I mean, honestly, shooting a predatory bird, I think it's like an $80,000 fine. It's something crazy,
And
you
like
know.
20 years in prison
Yeah,
or
it's not like a little crime,
And
but I
then they're
mean,
gonna be like, should we let out nonviolent offenders? Nope, he was violent. You see him kill that bird? Get out of
mhm.
here.
Yeah, those red-tailed hawks. I've got some bald eagles around here. I've got an osprey that's
You would
been
kill a bald eagle
fucking
if
things
you
up.
could, Kevin. You know you would. You're a jerk.
They taste so good though. I can't stop.
Again, I'm gonna have to go back to the entertainment. This is always one of those cringe episodes where you're like, I really shouldn't release it. But those
Hmm.
are the ones that everybody watches.
Those
And
are the
then
ones
every
people like.
time the views are and the shares are going up, I'm like, oh God, another person's gonna see that. I'm gonna get
Yep.
in trouble. And can't keep Kevin. I gotta
I
get
have I have I have never killed any sort of predatory bird.
Kevin.
So I will
Excellent.
say that 100%.
Kevin, I've seen you drive your car, and there's some issues out there. That's all I'm saying. I,
Yeah.
I find that hard to believe with the way you drive that you haven't killed something out there.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway though, as far as wrapping things up, few points I'd like to say.
Okay.
Um don't don't support the gun grabber Kamala Harris.
There you go.
Don't support the gun grabber Donald Trump.
There you go.
Oh, looks like we're fucked because there's no third option and only two parties are allowed. And the two parties make sure that's the case.
RFK. I'm
That's
just
true.
saying. Anyway, now there's a lot of crazy out there, and finding some kind of happy in between would be nice, but I don't know what our options really are. But I would say I am going to be at prepper camp. and I did get some T-shirts that I'm gonna have to sell. So I'm just saying some cool things out there.
Mhm.
I may have possibly got some where the logo on the back looks like crap, and I had to order it again.
And to get it, yeah,
But anyway, it turns out you're supposed to look at the proofs and have
and then
maybe.
approve them.
Here's the thing: I had like 5 people at work check it out, and they're all like, "Looks perfect, do it." And then I show the shirt when it comes to the wife, and she's like, "But why is it?" And I'm like, "Damn it!" And yeah,
Yeah, just
that's
show
how
it to the wife from now on.
yeah, that's what she said. Why couldn't you just be patient and wait and ask me?
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know,
Yeah, yeah. I
anyway,
would say that maybe it's sexist to say, but I'd say 9 times out of 10, when it comes to stuff like that, check with a woman.
check
Ask
the law.
ask a woman.
Turns out they
Especially when
have
it's clothing
keen
or stuff
eye.
like that. Yep, yep.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, I gotta be careful.
Whatever.
I ask her about stuff all the time. I'm colorblind, and she is whatever the opposite of colorblind is. It's like more than normal color vision or something. But yeah, I don't fucking know.
I don't know. All right. So with that, remember, sign up. You want to go out to prepper camp in Western North Carolina. Check out the badass. And yeah, otherwise, I appreciate you guys listening. Like and subscribe. That would be awesome. And yeah, that's what I got. So with that, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.